I know this year I said that my goal would be to produce a video a week. So today is Saturday, January 6th. So I'm working on video number 2. This morning I'm going to try something completely out of my element that I've never done before. I'm going to, it's breakfast first of all. It's breakfast. It's like 7:45 Saturday morning. So I'm going to make breakfast tacos, but and I know that doesn't sound like, something hard to do, but I'm going to attempt to make my tortillas from scratch. So that they can be soft, fluffy, and delicious. So, with that being said, let's get started. So, I've already measured out my ingredients. I have 2.5 cups of all purpose flour. Now, remember, when you're measuring flour, don't pat it down in the measuring cup so that it's flat and stuck. I mean, you need to scoop it in, and then when you reach the top, just scrape it off. So I have 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour for this recipe. I have a half a cup of Lord, and this is Morel. I would suggest that if you can't find Morel Lord, then use butter. You know, they say everything's better with butter. So I'm going to put this off in here. Kind of mix it with my handful, but it's a half a cup. And I'm going to use a teaspoon of kosher salt. Not table salt. Table salt is just too salty, so let's use the kosher salt. And I'm actually using kosher sea salt. So a teaspoon of that. And I have a cup of water at room temperature. I'm not going to knead this by hand. I'm going to let KitchenAid do the work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start it off by incorporating the water. Now, you don't want to pour this full cup of water in here at one time. So I'm going to suggest that you start out with a half a cup of water. Now, remember, the water needs to be at room temperature. And if you're going to knead this by hand, you can definitely do so. Most people will knead it by hand, but what's the purpose of paying all this money for KitchenAid if you're not going to use it? So I'm gonna let KitchenAid do the work. So let's get started. And on here I have my dough hook. That's about half a cup of water. You go ahead and let this get mixed in, and then I'll add half of what I have in this cup, and then I'll add the balance. The thing about making tortillas, you don't have to add yeast, so you don't have to wait, to let them rise. I mean, you do need to let your dough, sit, because flour has gluten in it, and you want to make sure that you get your stretch when you're making these. So I'm going to turn this up for a minute, and I'm going to add in half a cup of what's left from here. Okay, now I'm going to scrape down my flour and dough, and I'm going to add the remainder. And it's definitely coming together. So I'm going to go ahead and add this. When you're using the dough hook, it's good. You can push your dough into the hook. That way, you're definitely sure to incorporate all the ingredients. And once everything is incorporated, I'm going to show you what the dough looks like. But I'm going to continue to let it knead in here. So let me just take this off. Oh, put that back. So this is what the dough looks like. It's really kind of wet and sticky looking, but that's the right consistency that you want. You want it to be wet and sticky looking like that. So at this point, if you're going to knead it manually, you would just take it out of your bowl and continue to flour your counter and continue to hand knead it for about, I would say maybe 3 or 4 minutes, or until the dough starts to firm up. So I'm going to let this knead a little bit in here, maybe 2 minutes, and then I'm going to take it out and continue kneading it a little bit on the counter before I allow it to sit. So let's get back started. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is, you see how it's started to pull together. It's not as sticky. I'm going to take this out of my mixer, and I'm going to start to knead this with my hand. All right, I'm back. So I'm about to turn my dough out of my pan and manually knead it. So this is my dough. I floured my countertop. So let me get that off of there. You can see it's still sticky, but it's not wet and sticky like it was prior to kneading it for a while. Just want to get all of that out. Okay. Get my sleeves rolled up. All right, so like I said, I floured it. I'm gonna put a little bit of flour on top. So, and I'm going to knead this. And when you're kneading it, you just pretty much using the back of your hand, pushing it in, folding it up. That's what kneading is. All right, so I like my little dough scraper. So just continuing to knead it. And once you knead it till it's smooth, let me put a little bit more flour down here. You're gonna let it rest for about 30 minutes. You're gonna let it rest in the warmest place in your kitchen. So I'm going to put it in a little dish and let it cover it, and then let it sit in the oven with the oven off for about 30 minutes. This will allow me time to make my filling bacon eggs for the filling for the breakfast tacos. Okay. All right, so I mean, the dough is very soft, and you can see it's very smooth, and that's the purpose of kneading it. Okay. So I have my little pan. I'm going to put like a little of the lard that I put in the dough around it. Put some, on my hand. Rub some on your hand and just pat it on your dough. That way it keeps your dough from drying out. So now I'm going to put a wet towel. I'm going to get a cloth But you want to make sure that you take all the water out, wring all the water out of this cloth. And we're going to sit it over here. And we're going to let this sit in the oven for about 30 minutes, and then I'll come back. All right, so it's been 30 minutes. I just took my dough out of the warmest place. Like I said, this doesn't have yeast, so don't expect a rise. So what I'm about to do now is to section it off in balls so that I can actually get prepared to make my tortillas. So I'm going to take it out of here. And I'm just going to section it off in balls. Once I section this off in balls, I'm going to let this sit for about 10 minutes. And I'm not a tortilla maker, so I haven't mastered how to really, pull the flour into the balls like they do, but I can do it this way. And I don't want mine to be too big, so I'm trying to pretty much keep them uniform in size. Some of them I pulled off a tad bit too big. That's fine. I'm hoping that this will probably make about 10 to 12 tortillas. I have 6 now. 7, 8, 9, 10. It does make about 10, and that one is a little bit smaller, so put a little bit of dough on these. So it makes about 10. If you make them smaller, you can probably at least get a dozen. So what I'm going to do now is, again, I'm going to roll these out. Not roll them out, but I'm going to form these to make these more uniform. So I'm going to put, this is my lard, I'm going to rub this in my hand. This is how I see them doing it on TV, but like I said, I'm not the tortilla queen, so this is my first time, but they are very smooth. And if you need to add a little bit more oil to your hand, you can. The purpose of this lard is to keep it from sticking to your hand and to keep them really smooth. This dough is really soft. I'm going to get over here so you can see. My husband has no idea what I'm in here making for breakfast. I hear him in there vacuuming. These are really nice. So next I'm going to sit these over. I'm going to finish up my little filling, and then we'll be ready to flatten these out, roll them out, and fry them up. All right, so let's get ready to cook up some tortillas. I have a towel over here so that I can lay them on it. So what I'm about to do is, I have my rolling pin. Make sure I got my burn up. Okay. You don't want it to be blasting to the point where it burns it or it cooks it too crispy. So the first thing I'm going to do, I have some all-purpose flour in this bowl. I'm going to just put some flour on here, and I'm going to pat it down. Flip it over and dust the flour off. Sit that there. And I'm going to roll it. And you know what? I may need to put a little bit of flour on my countertop to keep it from sliding. And this dough is so soft. I'm going to, you can actually pull it out as much as possible. And like I said, you can make these as thick as you want. My whole thing is trying to get it to remain shaped in a circle like a flour tortilla, but I do want them to be thin. And of course, tortillas are rustic, so these are homemade. These are not like factory made where everything is completely round and no. So this is very, very thin. So want to make sure my skillet is hot. Okay. So what I'm about to do is, let me move this back a little bit so you guys can see. I'm about to put my first tortilla in my skillet, pulling it a little bit, stretching it out. And while that's frying up, I'll go ahead with number 2. I think eventually I will become a pretty good tortilla maker. Pretty good in the kitchen, so I don't see why eventually I wouldn't be able to make these look like they came out of the tortilla factory. Alright, so it's getting there. Like I said, you don't want to have your burner up too high because you want them to be soft. Cook them too high, that'll dry them out and make them crispy. Now, I guess if you want a crispy one, you can, but right, it's getting a little bit brown. I think it's just like with the pie. The first one is the hardest one. So I have my filling, my bacon, eggs. I have potatoes, but my husband doesn't like potatoes in his burrito or his breakfast taco. So I'm gonna go ahead and flip that. Oh yeah, well that looks really good. So I'm getting the temperature right on this first one. All right, you see it puffing up? Yeah, there it goes. Just took some getting used to getting the heat. Then I'll be ready for number 2. And I'll be putting these together. All right, I think that's good on that one. Look at that. Is that not beautiful? Oh my God. I bet it would be delicious with some butter on it right about now. All right, this is number 2. Come on. And the thing about them, you can freeze them. So I wanted to make all of these and just put them in a Ziploc. I'm not going to freeze them, but I will put them in the refrigerator because they will last in the refrigerator for a couple of months. But they're not going to be here a couple of months. I like to make quick stuff for breakfast. And this is pretty quick. I'll buy chorizo and do chorizo and eggs. Sausage. You can do whatever you want. I mean, chicken. I mean, you can make your own quesadillas. Man, this is beautiful. Look how that's popping up. That's vibing up. Look at that. That is gorgeous. Let's scoop that up a little bit. That is flat out beautiful. So I made potatoes, but like I said, my husband don't like potatoes in his, so I'll serve his potatoes on the side. I'll put my potatoes on the side. Look how that's rising up. Just beautiful. Time to mash that down a little bit. Get that steam out. Number 2. Man, I can't wait to try this in this breakfast taco. Nothing is better than fresh tortillas, especially when you go out to a Mexican restaurant. A lot of Mexican restaurants don't even make their tortillas in-house, which is sad, especially if you think you're getting authentic or made from scratch. Buddy, these look good. So I'm going to get these made, and then I'm going to stuff them with our breakfast stuff. And the thing about it, they cook very fast. Look at that. Look at that. It don't take no time. Yeah, I'm gonna have to try one of these with some butter. Oh, and I have some butter out that's already softening. All right, let me take this one out. Ooh. Man, these are awesome. Oh, my nail broke that one, put a little hole in there. That's okay. So I'm fixing to try one, the first one, with a little butter. But first I want to show you guys, look how soft they are. Look how soft and pliable they are. Look at that. That's just downright good. So I'm putting some butter on here to try this. This is good. Mm. It's good without the filling. You can imagine what it's going to taste like when I put this bacon, egg, and cheese. Oh, and of course I put I put avocados in mine. Not the hubby's, but mine. I'm definitely gonna have to master the the shape. Look at that. That is just pretty. I have to call this Tammy's Tortilla Factory over here. Mm. Like I said, the first one is always the hardest one because you're trying to get your temperature right. Mm. And you can see they're so thin. My nails actually, there's a little hole in that one as well. I think it's a pop. Three left. Another thing to my repertoire. Dang, I don't know. My nails keep putting a little hole. Am I gonna have to cut my nails off? But I want them thin, so don't want them thick. That's the one thing, the issue I have with the ones at the store. They're too darn thick. 2 more. Y'all, this recipe is so freaking easy. And you know, you can do it with butter. And of course, butter makes everything better. Doing it with lard is cheaper, But of course, butter always adds more flavor. So the measurements are the same for the butter and the lard. Got one more after this one. Well, after this one, two more. Get my husband in here to try these homemade tortillas. All right, this is my last one. Yay! You know, to be honest with you, I have a tortilla press in there. I had forgot about it. I could have actually put these in there. The next time I will. And then I definitely will have uniform shapes. Forgot I had that tortilla press. That's the thing about it. When you cook, you buy so many things. So many little gadgets, and you don't realize you have them. Because you forget. Okay. Y'all know me. I'm cleaning as I go. That's my thing. These are going to be delicious. All right. And my last one. And I have this little tortilla skillet. I bought this, so my intentions were to do this a long time ago, but you know, I just never did. It got caught up in making other stuff. But after making these today, baby, these babies are delicious. So all right, so I'm about to take this one out, and then I'm gonna move over to another counter and let you guys see me stuff them. Give me a moment. All right, so these are the tortillas. Look at here. Look how soft and pliable they are. Look at that. Look at that. Just soft and pliable. I mean, you know they're soft when you can unfold them and they go right back to the position. All right, so let me get started with breakfast. Let me get a little dish. So, have a little skillet. So, I'm going to say a little plate. So, the first thing I'm going to do is layer it with some cheese. Already scrambled eggs. We don't like our eggs super duper hard, so they're lightly scrambled. He likes bacon, so 2 pieces of bacon. And I'm going to sprinkle it with a few chives. And that's one. He'll take 2. Babe. Babe. My husband in there cleaning up. I do want bacon in mine, but he does too. Sprinkle a little chives. Put this in the microwave for a second just to melt that cheese. Ta-da! That's his breakfast. That's our burritos. So you guys try this recipe and let me know your thoughts. Until next time, be blessed.